Welcome everyone to Unity Live. We are so excited to be gathered here today on what feels like a very auspicious Monday, and certainly auspicious in the flow of celebrating this divine radiant being. Sylvie, we're so happy and grateful to have you here to celebrate you and share more of who you are and why you're here with everyone. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I feel very excited. Thank you.
Yeah, we would love to share with everyone a little bit more in depth about you and your bio. So, yeah.
Yeah, so just sharing a little bit about Sylvie. Sylvie's journey into holistic healing started with her intention to heal herself. She experienced chronic health conditions, an overprocessing mind, and was looking to transform her internal suffering. As a result, Sylvie started studying and practiced several modalities, including sound frequencies. She released the imprints of suffering, and with other energy practitioners, she was able to rebirth herself. She no longer suffers from the ailments that led her to seek answers. Sylvie's new awareness of how she healed and her connection to the divine and the divine within her created a new version of herself and her reality. Through her channeled wisdom and divine harmonics, pathways are opened and cleared within one's meridians, chakras, and cells, potentiating their highest vibrational crystalline expression. These unique sound transmissions are programming at a cellular level to restore balance, vitality, and harmony while promoting healing within the physical, mental, emotional, and spirit bodies. Sylvie incorporates her understanding of food, meditation, quantum energy, universality, and spirituality to assist individuals in crossing the ocean of suffering to liberation.
Welcome, Sylvie. So inspiring. I know that I'm so curious, and I'm certain everyone else is too, to share a little bit more in depth of your journey. I know you speak of it here and how it really, your own experience of navigating through, some rough seas, so to speak, led you more into what you're doing now and who you are. And could you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, thank you. It definitely seems that the physical body for me has been something that keeps showing up or has been showing up as a repetitive theme of where my focus tends to go. And so I would say it started at an early age, maybe somewhere around 10, and it started with a nut allergy. And that brought awareness to, oh, okay, I'm reacting to something in my environment. And then as I was in my 20s, then it became digestive issues. And that's really when the path started opening up in terms of alternative medicine. And it just so happened, because everything's always divinely orchestrated, that I met a colleague at the time who mentioned, naturopath, didn't know what that was. And so that really started that path into alternative medicine. And I would say, I started to feel better, being gluten-free, dairy-free, eating organic, doing all that. That's probably about 20 years ago. And then life took another turn, which was having children. And children are wonderful, but it also brought for me a lot of just a lack of sleep, I think was the main thing that really was hard on my body. And so it took another turn, my physical health again. And, at that point, that was probably the hardest struggle I think that I felt, because it came with a lot of brain fog. It came with a lot of extreme tiredness. I remember a moment of my daughter at the time being 3 years old, maybe 3 or 4, and kind of coming to the side of the bed and saying, like, are you going to get up soon? Because I'm hungry, And so that was a moment of realizing, like, wow, I can't even get up right now. I'm so tired. So that brought in a lot of awareness that I needed to kind of shift things again. And, it's led into eventually becoming a functional medicine health coach, and focusing on the mind, actually, because it felt like a lot of cognitive challenges with, again, being so exhausted. And so what was interesting is that, of course, I was coming at it from a physical perspective of wanting to feel better. But in the end, this pathway of learning more about the mind made me realize that it actually was more my emotions, and it was more my mindset, and it was more that part of me that was really exhausting me, because I certainly have had this life and probably other lifetimes where I can be very reactionary. And I started to kind of realize that it was that was really draining my energy, and it was my emotions. So certainly I think that in this experience of this life up until now, my physical body has been my marker of area of what I'm going to learn next, right? And it's been so beautiful to kind of have those life experiences to show me and to open me up to so many new people, new modalities. And at this point, as you can see with the gongs behind me, I've now really entered into the place of sound and incorporating that as a modality, including to the food and into the lifestyle habits and changes that I've made.
Yeah, beautiful. I remember a few years ago when we were speaking, part of you sharing that one of the things, we were talking about, what brings us the most excitement, the most joy, the most, creative flow. And you had shared at that point in time that, you really love music, and you've always really been into music, and felt, connected to it and connected to sound. But at that point in time, you brought forth an awareness that, I think my thinking mind is coming in to play a role in this, and maybe limiting my, my scope of potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, now, after you're fully embracing it, recognizing it as one of your greatest gifts and modalities and vehicles of assisting self and others. So could you share a little bit too about, how did you, kind of transmute or melt away and integrate those perceived mental hurdles to be able to further ignite, this path of sound healing?
Yeah, great question. I think that at some point on that journey of starting to feel better, and becoming a health coach and focusing on the mind, I realized that there were a lot of subconscious beliefs that I had that were really stopping me from moving towards things that I really enjoy, and was really starting to understand this concept of that we should just be here to experience joy, right? And we should be cultivating joy all the time. And you hear that, but I was starting to really understand that, if I love music so much, maybe there's a reason for that. And maybe that should be incorporated into what I'm offering others. So, that kind of journey started with a bit of, actually in the same year, I found Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and I found Psych K, and I found them both within months of each other, and dove into both, and also became a Psych K facilitator. And so that helped me start to understand the subconscious beliefs I had. So as I started to reprogram my belief system, all of the systems, and then started to really allow all of these programs that I've been holding of shame and guilt and self-judgment, probably a big one, right? Of I can't play with sound instruments. I'm not a musician. I'm not an artist. I'm not, all those beliefs. I had to slowly kind of, one by one, start to disengage from those. And so I would say subconscious belief work was the main tool that I was using over those years to start to kind of step towards the things that I love, even though they felt very fearful, because I really had no idea what this was going to mean, right? So if, let's say, I started this around 2018, there was no way in 2018 I thought I'd be sitting here talking to you with two gongs behind me, right? And a crystal ball and all these things. So, it's just been a process of following breadcrumbs and starting to embody more, this understanding of stepping into the unknown and really letting go and just surrendering, and always reminding myself, just surrender and keep surrendering. So I worked through the belief systems with different modalities. And then when the sound started coming in, which I think the first instrument I purchased in 2018 with no real reason to buy it other than I think I want one of these, was a frame drum, because I really love the work of, I can't remember the author's name right now, but When the Drummers Were Women is the name of the book. And so I kind of found that book and found the frame drum and was enchanted by that. So then I started working with the drum and just using the drum as my tool now to quiet my thinking mind, and toning into the drum and realizing as soon as I did that, all the chatter stopped in my mind. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And so that brought in toning, because I don't think before that I felt comfortable to tone, because I didn't think that, we're always judging our voice, right? I don't have a singer's voice, so I can't be toning, but the drum brought this kind of safety for me, because now I could tone into the drum and play with it. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And it opened up so many other doorways and pathways of revelation, as well, as you were guiding us through that. And, I love that you bring up all these fears of the unknown, right? And because certainly, being here within the veils of illusion, dropping into the system of the human matrices and immediately forgetting that we are source, we are one, instantaneously we are met with massive programs through ancestral imprints, through collective imprints, through our soul imprints of this fear of the unknown, right? Because with the veils, with the blindfold on, there's this instant imprinted felt sense of like, ooh, I'm on high alert. What's next? I don't know what's happening. I don't know who to trust. I don't know. I can't, right? These like seemingly endless patterns of fear of the unknown. And yet, I feel as though all of those who are on, their own unique paths here, and no matter what the modality is or the philosophy, of ancient times to modern times, it's so often where we come to hear, surrendering and releasing the fear of the unknown, embracing it, right? In fact, not even just like releasing it and surrendering, but embracing that, right? And with curiosity and exploration. And I love, as you shared this journey of, from 2018 to now, and your journey with sound, you kind of covered all of those areas, because, it started off with this fear of like, wait a second, I'm looking at, the societal playbook here, and I didn't, play an instrument in school. Okay, I didn't do that. Oh, okay, I'm not worthy of playing an instrument or singing a song. Okay, because that's what the mind does, and that's what we've been programmed to believe. Like, you have to do it this way, and this is how you do it. And if you don't do it that way, then you're, that's not who you are. And so for you to have, and when you're like, there was no reason to get the drum, right? Like, high self is like, just get the drum, just get the drum and play around. We don't, so you were following the breadcrumbs, you were following all those nuggets. There was the unknown as to why you were getting the drum, but there was a deeper knowing as to why you were getting the drum, right? And when we follow those breadcrumbs and we listen to our inner voice, and then getting playful, like you were saying, like, toning into the drum, and that, oh wow, and that childlike curiosity and exploration, and all these beautiful ways in which you allowed yourself, as you shared, to come into these depths of surrender, right? When we come into that place of surrender, when we surrender when we get curious with the unknown, and we, allow those societal programs, to sort of be on the periphery of things, and allow our main focus to be in the flow of exploration and further self-realization, magicals and miracles take place. And, and I feel like, being friends and colleagues and knowing you for a while now, your life is now abundantly flowing like an overflowing chalice of magicals and miracles. And, and you have yourself to thank, right? Of course, the universe and, the all that is, yes.
Yeah.
But we're taking those small actionable steps that are, led to bigger leaps and bounds. And one other thing that I felt a deep presence of Divine Mother coming in to highlight is when you were saying, like, like, I don't have a singing voice. that's one of the perhaps the greatest crimes of
Mm,
the false matrices, is to
mm-hmm,
suggest that there's any one type of voice or any, that is better than another, right? Every
mm-hmm,
single one of us has a unique sound signature. And from my perspective and perception in this now moment, we carry that sound and light signature through every single lifetime, or thread and timeline of participation. So that's part of our fingerprint, right? That's part of our soul print, is that beautiful sound signature. And even though highlighted within the limitations of the matrices, there are certain types of voices and sounds that have been made to be
mm-hmm,
acceptable or great
mm-hmm.
and celebrated, and those that aren't. Every single sound signature brings forth gateways and pathways to greater self-realization and exploration, and oftentimes healing and so forth. So I love that
Mm-hmm.
you were able to find, that place of greater embrace and playfulness and curiosity and courage
Yeah.
to go deeper in that, because I've experienced your quote unquote non-singing voice and it is glorious. It
For
is
sure.
absolutely beautiful and healing. And so thank you for taking a leap into the unknown and courageous for all of us.
Yeah. Well, I think I've tried to do my best to keep trusting the nudges and the little things that come up that make no sense. And I've tried to just always trust that now. And like when you were talking, an example came up recently that really propelled me even more into trusting. And it was, um, for some reason, we go in and out of things, right? And so being distracted with a bowl and gongs and all these other things, the drum kind of fell away. And then all of a sudden I felt like playing the drum again. And I pulled up an old course that I had of, learning some drum strokes. And within 2 weeks later, a week later, my grandmother ended up in the hospital, and clearly she was on her transition. And so what was really fascinating is that now I was practicing the drum every day, and now my grandmother was in the hospital. And so it became this, oh, obviously I should just bring my drum to the hospital and play for her. Whereas if I wasn't touching the drum at that time, I don't think I would have actually thought to bring the drum to the hospital. And so I brought the drum to the hospital and then to the home that she was transferred in. And every single time I went to go visit her, and this was over several weeks, almost like 2 months maybe, where my grandmother was transitioning, and I was playing for her, and I was singing to her, and I was toning to her, and it started to really break down the walls of judgment, because I knew my grandmother wasn't going to judge me. And she loved it because she actually really was pretty much non-communicative, like in and out. And the moment I touched the drum, she kind of looked at me and she was just like, what is going on? Right. And she loved it. And then when I would stop, she looked at me and she was kind of like, why are you stopping? Like, keep playing. So there again, I was shown this experience of like, wow, trusting something that, because at that time when I picked up the drum to start playing again, I literally had zero time to be doing this. Like, our days are so full, but I thought just 10 minutes, so every day, just touch the drum and see what happens. And then, boom, 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 all these things happen. And then I break down these walls even further of self-judgment, self-criticism, and being in this space of watching my grandmother transition. And actually physically, I could offer her something that I could see was bringing her peace. So I just love how life, once we let go and we say yes, like there's all these examples and all these experiences that will come up and show you that.
Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, and I was actually seeing, like, as you're talking about that, I was seeing an indigenous collective of like coming in to show like this is a this is often a practice that's brought through in assisting the elders in transitioning,
Mm.
like a shamanic drum journey,
Mm-hmm.
like bringing it in and keep, so that they can stay in that flow of just the rhythm
Mm-hmm.
coming back into the womb of all creation, right? Going
Mm-hmm.
back, from where how we entered into this life. So what a beautiful remembrance, and that was brought forth for you and for your grandmother. in that experience. And one thing that really sparkles in what you're sharing is, when we make that loving commitment to ourselves to say, okay, I'm just going to do this for 10 minutes every day. And then when we do it, right, and we do it from a place of love and and wanting to support ourselves and wanting to further, open ourselves up versus I should do this, and that sort of that punishing frequency, which brings forth a whole new set of opportunities. But also what that often brings forth is, a sense of paralysis, and we don't end up doing those 10 minutes a day, right? So when we enter in from this place of like nourishment and support and curiosity, and we show up and and the universe is like, okay, she's choosing to do something different today. She's choosing to, and she's consistently showing up for herself. Let's bring in the next, sort of tier on the spiral continuum and bring in the next, opening and expansion. So much of your recent, stories and participation of life are such a beautiful example of, of how we can bring greater embodiment, right? How we can participate in the embodiment.
Yeah, it is. It's such a great example and inspiration of really following our highest joy and excitement, and how that can really lead to magical places and miracles unfolding. And you hit on something that I think is so profound and beautiful, which is that music is just this universal language, and describing your grandmother as she transitioned and really being able to connect with the rhythm, with the sound frequencies that you were bringing forth, is such a beautiful reminder. And I'd love to explore that, in terms of our nervous system, because I know that that's an area that you really focus on and specialize in, and why you think it is that sound is such a powerful tool and modality, and perhaps some other modalities that you would recommend, integrating in, experimenting with, playing with, in order to really help us to regulate our nervous system.
What I've noticed with sound being so powerful is that it really bypasses that thinking mind, and it really just turns this off, and it gets this rational mind out of the way, right? It parks it somewhere. And I certainly have now felt it the strongest with the gongs, I would say. And coming with the gongs, it just like transports you somewhere else, and it cuts out all the noise. So once that part happens and it slows down the brain waves, it's one of the more important things, I guess, that happens with sound, is oftentimes, most of the time we are in our thinking mind, and sometimes in a place of it being, very critical and stressful. And so when we are in those brain waves, we're in those beta brain waves. And so once we hear music or sound that really slows everything down, so it slows the nervous system down, it's slowing the brain waves down from beta to alpha to theta, which becomes that place, usually before we fall asleep, and it's that dream state. When we slow our brain waves down, we're slowing the whole nervous system down, and we're kind of like then putting in the clutch to get that nervous system to come to net zero. Because our nervous system actually has daily duties that it needs to do, releasing good hormones when we need it, repairing tissue, rebuilding. So the nervous system has all these tasks that it needs to do all day. But because we're usually in stress mode all day, and we're in this fight or flight, then the whole nervous system is always very preoccupied with putting all that adrenaline, everything that we need, into the part of the body, because it's trying to flee something, right? Which these days it's just our modern day stressors. So once that starts happening, it has to abandon its regular maintenance that it needs to do. And that's okay for a short period of time, of course, but the problem is stays stuck there. And so we stay in that fight or flight, we stay in that state, and now the nervous system isn't able to get to its regular duties. So what I've noticed with, especially playing the gong, and of course the crystal bowl and the drum, is that it actually like puts in the clutch and all of a sudden gets the nervous system to come into balance. So that sympathetic turns off, the parasympathetic turns off too, and they both go into net zero, which could also be equated to like the 0 point, right? That presence. And now all of a sudden the nervous system can do what it needs to do, go into that repair, rebuild, rebirth. It can do all that. And so sound allows that because it really just kind of turns off the mind, slows down the brain waves, relaxes the body. And now, the body starts to become in harmony. Now the body feels safe. And if the body is safe, then it feels harmony. And actually the nervous system, for it to get to that harmonious state, that net zero I'm talking about, where the sympathetic and parasympathetic aren't turned on, it actually just needs safety. That's really all that it needs. And as soon as it feels safe, then it can get to its regular maintenance tasks, right? And that's it. And then when you eat something, okay, then the parasympathetic turns on so that it can digest and eliminate food. That's fine. Then it turns back off, back to that net zero. And let's say if you're exercising, your sympathetic turns on, pumps the blood and everything, your heartbeat goes up, and then it'll turn off again. That's what we want. It turning on and off, turning on and off. And so that the nervous system can come back to its kind of regular maintenance. So to answer the question about what sound does, I think just sound allows someone to finally let go, right? And I think that's what it does. And of course, the other part of it is that, here we have an instrument that's actually emitting something, right? There's vibration coming off of it. And then here we are, this thing also emitting vibration, right? All our thoughts, all our words, all of our actions. So now the two meet in the middle. And generally, for most people, if they're in a stress state, their sound waves or their waves coming out are incoherent. And then the sound waves coming off of an instrument tend to be consistent and they're coherent. So when they meet together, the sound waves will entrain the other waves like coming off of you into that place of meeting that consistent sound that's coming from the crystal bowl or the gong or the rattle or the drum. So if that makes sense, if it's
I love how you describe that. Yeah,
that is such a beautiful description. And and I'm hearing in that is our physical, mental, emotional, spirit body complexes, our own unique holograms await, right? Await for us to participate in that higher coherent field of sound, because it knows exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And yet, as you so beautifully shared, our consciousness is the most, our greatest superpower. Our thoughts and our beliefs, which is how we direct our consciousness here as source. We direct them into our thoughts, which then become beliefs, and those really are superpowers. So if our thoughts and our beliefs are all over the place, as they often are, until one comes into practices and mastery of the 0 point, it's like it's a field of chaos, right? It's a field of incongruent sound waves and light waves kind of, moving all over the place, right? So I love that, it can be something as simple as an instrument, someone's voice, clear intention, bring forth to recalibrate, right? It's like, wow, it can be that simple. And yet how often do we all pause within the chaos to listen to intentional sound or to participate in it, right? So, bringing forth, again, now coming kind of full circle to setting forth time each day, create the experiment with ourselves, right? Bring forth that, those acts of self-love and see what can take place, when we allow ourselves permission to come back into that 0 point, come back into harmony with life. I know that you really are deeply connected through, this lifetime and many previous timelines with, the consciousness of Sophia Gaia, Mother Earth, the consciousness of the elements. Can you share a little bit with us too about how you have incorporated those practices and those, levels of conscious participation to assist with the nervous system as well?
Wonderful question. I definitely have felt connected very much to water and to fire. And I would say over the last couple of summers specifically, I really connected to water consciousness. And over those, I say summers because I do live in a country that has winter is very cold. So although, of course, in the shower, I obviously use the water consciousness as well. But I have just these specific memories of really using the water consciousness, the element of water over the last couple of summers in the lakes or in pools, and really just setting an intention of whatever it is I was working through at that time, and using the water to cleanse and to clear and to assist me into further understanding myself and to further letting go of my self-identity. And same thing with fire. I often will sit with a candle and just kind of use the heat and using intention to kind of again clear whatever it is that is coming up that day, because I think every single day there is probably something to let go of, right? And there's something to work through. And also I would say that I've always used water, the element of water, through tears, and I've never been one to shy away from crying and to feel my emotions. And I think that's because for some reason at an early age, I did grow up in an abusive family and had an abusive father. And I, for some reason, taught myself when I was a child to just cry, at night. And then I would always tell myself, well, tomorrow would be a new day and everything would be better the next day. So I was also using tears, water unknowingly at that time to really cleanse and to clear and to let go. And so I definitely feel so connected to fire and to water that way. And then at this point, of course, because of music and sound, it's the air and it's, what's moving through me as I sit in front of the gong. And, same with the drum. Now I brought the gong in as a practice every single day to sit in front of it and to hear and to feel, what's penetrating through me through the sound waves. And again, I'm noticing physical changes within my own body by sitting with this every single day. So I'm constantly being shown the power of, of all the elements. And I've certainly, those have been my focus over the last few years.
Yeah, beautiful. What beautiful expressions and invitations to bring forth for all of us to remember, we are one with the earth, we are one with the elements. The elements are here to assist us. We are, our physical temples are made of all the elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the more that we allow ourselves to connect with their rhythm and their teachings, we can, assist our nervous system, assist ourselves in coming back into that zero, coming back into that unified and harmonized field of cohesive communication.
Yeah, I love how you use the elements, use sound in your day-to-day life, and something that really is coming through as you're sharing is around safety, how we can build in greater levels of safety. And it's just kind of like this aha moment for me personally. This week I've been on vacation in a very quiet place. And I realized how much even the subtlest noise of traffic going by, can create a change in our environment. And so I love how you're really inviting us to really attune to our environment, to create even greater levels of safety. Is there any, with your Psych K experience too, how would you invite that with clients? In perhaps a session and
in terms of Psych K into a session?
With Psych K and other kind of modalities that you are into.
Yeah, I think that when I'm in session now with people, I'm just meeting them where they're at and just really understanding what are the levels that they're trying to let go of, right? So more wholeness can come in, and they're usually trying to work through some sort of density, right? And that density is just stress. And then it's affecting, again, that nervous system, right? So I would say at this point, I use Psych K as a tool to reprogram subconscious beliefs. And then at this point I'm incorporating sound, and the sound to me is to again bypass that thinking mind and to really kind of go into the cells and into the DNA, and at a cellular level really change the patterns that are being held there. And all at the same time, it's really again regulating that nervous system, because if the nervous system is really the master control of everything that's going on. So if that thing is really out of balance, then all the other things that you do, whether it be food, whether it be physical or mental, they don't go as far if the nervous system is still so unbalanced and really needs a lot of repair. And there's a lot of course diseases that come out of a nervous system that's really out of whack. So overall, when I'm in session with clients, it's really about I can see changing those subconscious beliefs, and also bringing in a lot of love and a lot of care for them. Because I think when people feel really safe and they feel, I oftentimes think to myself, one of the biggest things I bring to people is that I really do love them, and I really bringing that unconditional love to them and really believe in them. And I find like that's such a key ingredient to really help them shift over, is to feel someone actually really believes in them and cares for them. And I only say this because I've seen the experience with many clients, and they actually reflect that back to me, that is one of the things that they felt that they were really cared for. Because that's really what this body, this physical thing, this nervous system needs. It needs safety, it needs harmony, and it needs more conscious awareness to plug that into your day. Because if you don't plug that into your day, then, our day is run by our external world, if we don't consciously become aware of that. So, yeah, I would say that I'm using psyche, and then I'm using sound as the many different ways to kind of approach whatever is happening in someone's life.
Yeah, but also your light, and really, having known you for a while now, you do have that beautiful gift of seeing, the highest potential, seeing the highest light in others, from that place of full embrace, non-judgment, unconditional love. And when you have the gift to be able to see that in, in another one, you have the gift to be able to hold the space for the other person to make their way to recognize it and embody it themselves, should they choose, right? We all have will and free choice. And that's a master ingredient in any elixir of healing modalities and tools. And oftentimes it kind of gets brushed, sort of in the undercurrent of how we share, who we are and what we do. And yet it's so powerful. And, and really, I feel like just as powerful perhaps as bringing ourselves into balance, and oftentimes is the key ingredient and elixir to assist one in coming into that place, right? Because when we feel that someone else is able to hold a space of seeing us and hearing us and feeling us for our highest and most authentic selves, then that in and of itself drops down and away and melts away so many of the programs of fight or flight. Because so many of the programs of fight or flight are trying to survive and be accepted and, into this puzzle that is really in the polarity of our highest nature, right? But we all are like trying to navigate it and master it, until we're not. And now during this massive time of alchemy and ascension, I feel like we're all coming into that greater transparency and awareness. Wait a second. I'm not meant to fit into the system. I've been doing it. It's been great. It's offered me so much wisdom in way of what it feels like to be living in duality and polarity of my true nature. And now, I'm ready to put those beliefs and those thoughts and feelings and so forth, like to create alchemy within them and come into, my highest expression in nature here. And so for those such as yourself showing up and bringing forth the tools, to assist, one in doing that. And I love that you don't only practice it in terms of, sharing it in way of service with others, but you practice it on your own daily journey of participation and greater self-realization and greater awareness and, of who you are and why you're here. And, an embraced ongoing journey of participation that you do. And for me, that is, a prerequisite and for desiring to work with another person. If it's really about the embodiment, right? We can have a huge, library of knowledge, of tools, and and how they work, and and what they're meant to do. And there's a big difference between having that knowledge and applying it, which then leads to embodiment, right? And when we embody it, then we can really hold the space and the invitation for others to be able to do the same. And I would say, that is a beautiful expression of who you are here. So thank you for embodying.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's such a alchemical experience that you offer with the psyche, which like really goes into the subconscious, and then combining that with so much unconditional love, seeing one's highest self, and then the sound, which I find that people are really able to feel and process emotions in such a powerful way. So I feel like that is such a alchemical recipe to allow people to feel, to heal, to alchemize, and to really reach their highest potential.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that said, I heard from a little birdie that you might be offering a sound transmission. Does that still feel in the flow of today's gathering?
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
And I think
absolutely.
we did have a question, so maybe perhaps before we go into the sound journey,
Oh, yeah.
there was a question from Linda. I'll see. Linda, are you there?
You have to ask her verbally to unmute maybe? Or...
Let's see, Linda, if you still have a question, if you could let us know in the
Looks like she said, sorry,
no
no
question.
question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
She was waving at us.
Oh, hey.
Hi, Linda. All right. Well, if there are any questions before we go in.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I feel as though everybody's going to definitely want to know more about, how they can, work with you, what types of offerings are coming through. But perhaps if we lead into the sound and then kind of come full circle to that, how does that feel?
Yeah, you want to come back to that after? Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess I would say a couple things. One, if people have the opportunity to put headphones in, it definitely helps with the sound for gongs. Or when you listen to the replay, I definitely suggest for this part putting in headphones, because the gongs, in order to hear the full resonance of them, you really need headphones. And I also just wanted, we'll talk about it later maybe, that I have a course coming up on the nervous system, and this is what will be happening actually within the course over the 5 weeks, is a sound transmission during the course. So this will be a taste of what will happen there.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we get comfortable and close our eyes and just begin to center in your body, and just bringing all your awareness and calling all your energy back to you. And maybe allowing yourself, inviting yourself to have an intention. And maybe there's something today that you're wanting to let go of, or something you want to bring more of into this beautiful Monday, or this beautiful day wherever you are listening to this again. And I will also set an intention for us that we will activate your vibrational sense network within your own body so that your senses within your body will feel this transmission. We're going to set that intention. Keeping your eyes closed and just allowing yourself to further let go and to relax. Allowing yourself to come back, taking a deep breath. Bring your awareness back to your body. And whenever you're ready, you may open your eyes.
That was really beautiful.
Incredible. I love the gong, and I love your voice so much.
Yeah, so soothing. And yeah, I felt like it was interesting. I had this cool visual of like this like liquid platinum star, like dust, if you will, but like kind of moving through and like down, like taking us down into yeah, just to be like held within the earth. And then, what I also loved too is that there's so many noises within my apartment, like just vibrational noises. And because I have such a sensitive, hearing, it was perfect because I was able to really like bring and focus in on you and the transmission and the sound. And just in going into this, like not efforting, but just embracing and sort of like magnetizing myself into the sound of, what I believe started off the crystal bowls and then your toning and the gong. It was like, the power of that sound was able to, hold my vibrational fields in that flow while simultaneously having the awareness of the other things going on around. But yeah, I don't know, I may not be articulating it well. It was just this really beautiful sort of expression of like the calm within like the sea of chaotic nodes and frequencies.
Yeah, I think someone just wrote there was no force probably to sink into it, and I think that's the power of the gong. It sometimes with meditation we use meditation, of course, to calm ourselves or to come into the moment or to come into our heart, but it's challenging, right? Because it could be a very active day and the brain is just full on, and the gong just kind of cuts through all of that, and it just, without effort, you're like, oh, okay, I'm here where I wanted to be. I mean, that's why I think it's so powerful, and I'm so excited to have that included in my upcoming course in terms of resetting or rebalancing the nervous system, because I think at this point of the journey, we need all the assistance that we can receive, and especially from magical, in ancient tools. Like, why not?
Absolutely. Will you share a little bit more about that, about your course and other ways in which people can connect more with you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. And my website, the simplest, which is sylvieoliveira.com. And on the website will be my course offerings. I have a free meditation every Wednesday evening, and you'll see there my Instagram account, which is probably where I'm the most active. And the nervous system course, it's called Nervous System Alchemy, and it with sound, and it starts, I think it's already next Thursday. Time, May is flying. And so May 18th, and it will be 5 Thursdays, so 5 weeks. Everything will be recorded, of course, if you can't make a class. It will be in the evening, so 7 p.m., which will be nice because it can prepare you for your evening, so that way you can rest afterwards. But the course will be about the nervous system. So the first half hour, I would say, will be talking points about understanding the nervous system. And then as the weeks go on, all the different ways that we have densities and we have all these kind of programs, and starting to let those go and starting to understand how those are affecting the nervous system. That will be like the first half hour of each week. And then the second half hour, I would say, and depending on how many questions there are, it could be more than an hour, but will be a sound transmission. So the second part will be all of this and more, to really drop you into that 0 point, and to really also assist in the brain entrainment, right? So the brainwave entrainment, to really slow down the brain waves to that theta brainwave state, so that during that period of time, you can, like I say, put that clutch in and put the nervous system into balance. Like, it will kind of be, I'm gonna say force, but the music, the sound is going to be assisting in that, and so that you can be in that healing place for that half hour, let's say, of the transmission. And actually, the other real fun, exciting thing I'm really excited about is I'm going to be including some fascial maneuvers as well. That will be at the beginning, I think, of the sound transmission, to really transition you into getting into your body. Really simple, easy, like for a few minutes, fascial maneuvers, so you can start to drop into your body. And then we lie down, if you want to lie down or sit, and listen to the sound transmission. So it's really going to be about a course about healing the nervous system and continuing it, right? So it will be the 5 weeks, but then it's to keep going, right? And to keep further doing that work on your own, and to develop those tools so that you can have more conscious awareness that, right, I need to soothe my nervous system and take care of it and get it out of fight or flight.
Wonderful.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I know. Even in your talking about soothing your voice, I'm like, between the gong and your voice right now, I'm ready to go take a cosmic nap, I think.
Yeah, such a beautiful voice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your presence, for your service, for your loving heart, all that you're bringing here and sharing with humanity during this time. And as we know, humanity and the earth, and because everybody receives, through the oneness that we are. So I look forward to these sound transmissions, as I plan on participating, if not live, definitely taking the recordings and applying them to my evening practices. So I'm really excited and looking forward to it. And thank you so much for being here and celebrating togetherness on UniTea, and everybody for being here with us. And we look forward to seeing everyone soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sylvie.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So much love. See you all next time.
Bye.